Hello all, and welcome to my studio. I'm going to be delivering these videos from this space, from my workspace, to your workspace. It's a difficult thing for me to do at school because I have to wear a mask, I'm muffled, you can't hear what I'm saying, so I'm coming to you from this chaotic but very productive space out in Accord, New York. So today, what I want to talk to you about, or in this video what I want to talk to you about, is your work surface. Now, I've set up a really simple and basic work surface as a model for you here. All I've done is taken a piece of 1 by 12, I don't know, that's about 2.5 or 3 feet long, and a chunk of ash that I had that was an offcut from another project that's offering me a good expanse of area where I can actually go ahead and clamp a board if I want to make cuts or if I want to use the rasp to grind away certain parts of the surface, or if I want to use the chisel to pare or chop. These are all things I can do on this really super basic work surface. Now, we want to be able to assess whether or not your work surface is going to have the same kind of versatility. So if you have any kind of concern that this may not be the case, if you feel like your work surface isn't particularly sturdy, or if you feel like your work surface is hard to adapt to in terms of clamping materials to it, send me an image. Send me an email. Show me what you've got so that we can figure out how to make this work for you. Again, what I've done is I've just screwed this little makeshift situation to a big heavy log, and that makes the whole thing relatively stable and sturdy and makes a great demonstration space for us here. You can see I've got benches and stuff all behind me, but I wanted to put together something fast and makeshift so you understood how we could get a really functional work surface in a very innovative way, quick and easy. Now, I want to take a minute and just talk about how we go ahead and take a piece of your work and prepare it for cutting, for drilling, for sanding on this type of a work surface. Now, I've got just a random piece of ash that we'll use for this purpose. We'll clamp it down in a couple of different ways. And you will either see, or you may have already seen, that there are a couple of ways you might go to work on a board such as this. So in the Ryoba saw video, you will learn that if you cut across the grain this way, you're making a cross cut. If you cut with the grain this way, you're making a rip cut. And just to clarify that, we can probably get that, ooh, I'm in the shadow, I can probably get that up so that you can really see what the grain looks like. You can see here that the grain is running this way. So if I make a cut with the grain, rip cut. If I make a cut across the grain, that's a cross cut, okay? So what we want to do is imagine ourselves setting up for a couple of different situations. Let's say we want to cut across the grain, we want to make a cross cut on this board. I want to set it up so I have plenty of room to come in here with my saw and make that cross cut, okay? This might be a perfect situation, a perfect setup. So all I would have to do is take my clamps and clamp it to this existing board so that it won't move, and then I can begin my cut. Now, I want to speak to you a little bit about the clamps. Those of you who have already watched the video on the saws, you've already gotten a taste of this, but I want to just be a little bit more clear. Let me just adjust the focus here. This is a bar clamp. This is the tool that we're going to be using to hold our work in place and to keep it from moving around a lot. Now, I'm squeezing myself into the screen here so that I don't have to make a lot of edits while producing this video. The bar clamp works in this really simple way. The back of the clamp has all of these different ridges. And basically, they're little indents that are designed to catch a little sort of like ratcheting mechanism. So whenever the bar is set up in the current scenario, I can push the arm this way, but I can't pull it back. It locks in place against those little ridges that you can see on both sides of the bar. In this case, in particular, some bars only have the little teeth, the little ridges on one side. So anyway, it'll actually push easily this way, which allows us to set the clamp, but it doesn't pull back. In order to make it pull back, you have to release the little grabber, and then you can slide it back at your leisure. One other thing I want you to notice before you start clamping is that this adjustable arm, one is stationary, this is a stationary sort of like arm or grabber, this is an adjustable one. The adjustable one has the sort of threaded rod on it, along with a little pad here for really getting some traction and grip on the piece of wood you're trying to clamp. You want to make sure that's fully unscrewed. If it's screwed all the way closed, once you've sort of like locked this in place on your wood, you won't have any room to continue tightening it. You basically want to set it and then really tighten it down so it can't go anywhere. Let me show you what that looks like. In this case, and I'm going to just do it upside, well, no, I'll just do it right side up. Hopefully you can see it. In this case, what I'm going to do is either set my clamp here or over here. We'll go ahead and do it here. I'm going to just go ahead and give it an initial set, and then I can come down here to my handle and tighten it up. Okay, nice and tight. Then I may want to come to the back, and I've actually got enough room here that I can actually either set it over here on this side of the board or all the way back here, because I'll still get a grip, and I'll tighten it up. This time I'll do it upside down. If I'm cutting over here, it wouldn't be in my way. Just so you can see how it's going to go down, I'm going to press, you can hear it ratcheting, press my pad against my wood, and then I can go ahead and tighten it until I've got a really secure and stable board and it's not going anywhere. Now I can come in and make my cut without any concern that the wood's going to go all over the place. Something I'll ask you to never do is just try to hand hold a board while you cut it. Always clamp it to the surface. Take your time, make sure it's locked down, and clamp it to the surface. That's crucial, okay? Always clamp it to the surface. Now, let's say you want to make a rip cut. That's where you cut with the length of the board. You're going to need a different strategy here. You're going to need a different way of clamping it to your surface, all right? So I'm going to undo these so that we can try that out. I'm going to use my little release down here to kind of pull it off. Same thing here, loosen this, and then just to get a little extra loosening, I'll pull it off like that. Let's say now you want to make a rip cut. Now that means you're going to have to sort of like cut just on the overhang of your board. So you want to give yourself, let's say I'm going to cut it right here. Let me just sort of set the focus so that makes a little bit more sense. Let's say you want to cut it right here, right along the line there. You want to make sure that you have plenty of overhang so you're not cutting into your bench or your table, for God's sakes. That would be terrible, okay? So I'm going to set it up where I have a good amount of overhang. And I can measure or adjust that overhang and kind of determine how deep it is. And then I can come back in and do the same thing I did a moment ago and clamp my bar clamp to the surface. Same deal. And you can see I'm setting up my clamps so that they're not in the way when I'm getting ready to make my cut. All right, so there we go. I'm going to go over all this material again, but this is just an introduction to clamping and setting up your workspace. Now, whoop, I can make a nice rip cut, okay? Finally, I have one other situation which I just briefly talked about, set up on this particular bench, and that is this little right angle I set up over on this side. Let's say I want to make a cut here that only goes down an inch, a cut here that goes down an inch, and then I want to just take my chisel and knock out the little piece that goes between those two cuts. I'm going to want to make the cuts from up here, nice vertical cuts. So I want to have an easy way to set my board up, and I'm going to move my focus again, I want to have an easy way to set my board up like this so that it's vertical, okay? All I have to do is, just as I did before, reset my clamp so that I have plenty of room, ratchet it into place, and then tighten it down. Same thing on the other side. Bring it over here, ratchet it down, tighten it up. Now I like to go pretty tight so that I don't have to worry about my wood moving, and now I've got an excellent surface for making a good clean cross cut down to a certain point, okay? Obviously a little bit tricky to make a cross cut that would go all the way through. I'd run into my little 90-degree block. I could potentially do it here, but there are reasons why I'm going to encourage you to make a cross cut along a full length of board. I'm going to encourage you to do that flat over on an end like this. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how your clamping is going to work, how you're going to set up your surface so you can kind of maximize your clamping. Again, I really want you to be careful never to try and handhold something while you're cutting or drilling or chiseling. This is an easy way to have a slip and cut yourself and hurt yourself. Can also mess up your work, which is very much secondary. But these are things I want you to take into consideration as you're setting up your workspace.